Okay, you see how they make this mounting with this groove, with that slot there? Well, that's designed so that this here can slip in through that notch, okay? Right in through there, okay? And so when I put that up there, I have to kind of keep that in mind so I know about where to put the existing wires up there. And whenever you get a mounting box, make sure it comes with the mounting screws, because with most ceiling fans, for some reason, they don't give you any mounting screws for this. And that's something. And 2 mounting screws are those. And so, see, when I hold this up there, I can either put it that direction, or I can flip it around and put it that direction. Now see where the knuckle fits right there, it would either fit to the left, or if I put it this way, I'd have to fit it into the right. And I might have to think about that, right? Because I'm right-handed, and I'll have to figure out how to lift this thing up here the easiest way for me to do it, so I don't have to backhand it to get up in there. So I'll have to think about that for a second. Okay, and then make sure I don't get my wires. I don't want my wires coming through this notched area. That has to be left open wide. And the funny thing, when I was reading it, they said all the wires for your grounding should be on one side and all your other wires should be on the other side. And maybe for interference or something. So I'll have to look at that diagram again, meaning the neutral, the white wire and the ground wire should be on one side and the black wire should be on the other side. And I've never really thought about that before. I've just wired it up however it comes. Ground wires on one side, white, black, blue on the other side. I'll look at that for a second and decide how I want to get that mounted up there, okay? And the key to that is you want to mount that up there nice and secure, because that's the other thing. If your box is not tight, let's say it's not flush with your drywall, and let's say it's inset a little bit, and let's say you tighten this up and these prongs happen to fit on the drywall or something, and then you put your screws in, well, your screws are only sucking that up tight to the drywall. So if it's something like that, you got to make sure you really crank down on it, because if you just get it snug, after a while it could loosen up a little bit, and your bracket assembly is not actually tight to the box. You see what I mean? And so if your ceiling fan were to ever wobble, is it always because this knuckle gets loose? No, the knuckle could be tight. This whole mounting bracket could be sloppy, and it might be because it needs to be tightened up there a little bit more. Could be all kinds of things. It could be the set screws loosened up, and this thing is loose at the bottom, so you'd have to tighten up those set screws. It might be because your fan blades got loose. You have to tighten up your fan blades. So I go through all kinds of stuff on figuring out how to fix a ceiling fan wobble and stuff. Okay, so now enough of that. I'm going to get up there and figure out exactly how I want to mount that. Now, as for mounting, does it matter? Does it matter if I mount it that direction or that direction? On flat ceilings, no, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. But if this was on a cathedral ceiling, let's say this was the low side of the ceiling and that's the high side of the ceiling, okay, and it's coming down at an angle, does it matter which way you put this? Yes, of course it does, because there's a nib. You see this little, I don't know if you can see it. There's a little nib. You see right there, that nib coincides with the little nib on the side of your ceiling fan. Okay, and yeah, that's funny. They got four nibs on this. So once you put it in, you just have to swivel that to where it fits. Your nib fits on that little holder thing, and that keeps your knuckle from moving around. And if it's on a slope, you've got to have that nib facing downhill, so that when you put your knuckle up there, you twist it around, your nib hits it, because your nib's never going to hit it if you have it facing uphill and it's up over here. Do you see what I mean? Chances are it's not going to hit it very well. And maybe they've had that problem and issues before, and maybe that's why they put nibs all the way around this thing. I don't know. But for me, I would always try to put that nib facing down. And maybe, depending how your box is set up, maybe the box is set up where you can't exactly run it across this way. Maybe the mounting screws are sideways, so this nib might not necessarily be on the downhill side, but it's going to be on the side rather than the uphill. Do you see what I mean? Depending how you do this, I would still do it like that rather than a different way. You see what I'm saying? And so you just have to kind of pay attention if you're on a ceiling with an angle. Okay? Think about it. Okay, I got the mounting bracket up there. And before you tighten the bracket down, you could slide it. It's on a oblong hole here. So you could slide it to the right, or you could slide it to the left. And remember, I had that pencil mark there? I just slid it over, and now I'm basically centered from where it was cut a little bit too far over on that side, the drywall. And I just got it centered, and I snugged it up. And I redirected the white wire coming into the box. That's the neutral wire. Okay, so the neutral wire that hooks up to the outside power, I'll keep on this side, as well as the ground, as well as this ground. I'll bring it over this direction. The ground on the knuckle of the ceiling fan, I'll have all the ground wires and the neutral wire on this side, and I'll have the black wire over here, and the black wire coming from the ceiling fan, as well as the blue wire from the ceiling fan. And maybe that will help reduce any interference that you might have from conductors of your ground and neutral wires as opposed to your hot wires. I've read that on the directions, but I've never really had an issue with handheld remotes before. I would just hook up the wires, shove them all up there however I could. And it is what it is. And I've never had an issue with a handheld remote not working properly. Okay, but on this particular one, I'm going to go ahead and do it the way they suggest. Okay, so now, am I ready? And I got the knuckle on that, the notch for the knuckle on that side. Even if I flip the ladder around, I might have to use both hands to get it up in there and get the knuckle in there. Okay, and before I do that, you see, I could cut these wires, and I might cut the wires off to about there. I don't need this extra wire anymore, right? I don't want to cut the wires too short. I can always cut the wires shorter after I get it up there, right? So I'm going to go a little bit long, and then this extra wire, I'll probably save it. I'll save it and throw it in my little red bag over there, in case I ever need that for something, you know. Okay, so I'll do that, and then I'll figure out how to angle my ladder strategically. I might flip it around the other way. I'll just have, and I'll do that and kind of go through the motions and see which way it's going to be easiest for me to manhandle that. It's not really that heavy. It's just slightly awkward, but there's still enough room in between the blades for me to lift it up there and for it not to hit the ladder as I'm going up and all that stuff, and then get it in there. You'll be able to do it. And as for the light kit and stuff, I'll look at that afterwards. And for the light kit, I don't want to start installing that now. You know, I always like to do that when it's up in the air. You see what I mean? That way I don't mess anything up. Especially the bottom glass globe. You know, so I'll have to read on that, on how that all goes, and I'll install that after I get this next bit up. Okay, coming up.